Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. So today we are making this my Eid boubou gown that has embroidery. It's a very simple boubou gown. No, nothing too much about it. Hello everybody, my name is Fatima Yusuf and on this platform I share sewing tutorials. If this is something you like to learn, let's get to it. In total, I use 6 yards of Ankara. That's plus the head scarf, right? But here I measured my full length twice. I added allowance. That's what I did here, and you can see it's close because I measured using the paillas, using the white line, not the length of the Ankara, because the Ankara doesn't come in long length, right? So I measured the white lines. You're going to measure your full length. Let's say your full length is 60, so that means you measure about 62 to 63 inches, depending on the inches you want to add. So I did that. I split it into two. I gave each a good iron press. I folded each, right? So this is one of it, and I marked 1 inch for my zipper allowance, but in this case I'm not using zip. If you're using zip, you can actually mark 2 inches or 1.5 inch, you understand? So I just joined the points together. I use 1 inch here because I will not be using a zipper. I'll just be using it to add my pleats to it. Then this is the second one that I folded and gave a good iron press. So I'm going to place it starting from that allowance, right? So after you place that on, you see that there will still be excess for the front piece, right? Because we placed it from the zipper allowance or the pleat allowance. So I carefully placed it, and then I'll be drawing out a border line because the upper parts were not equal. So that will be our starting line. So any measurement you're marking will be from this line. So like I told you guys, there will be excess at the side, so we're going to cut that off later on. So now I'm starting my measurement from that line. Now I'm going to measure how deep I want my curve and my cowl curve length to be. Some people might want it to be at the hip line 24, some people might want it to be before the hip 22 or after the hip line, but I measured 28 inches for mine. But it depends on what you want. You can make it to be on your hip line 24, you can make it to be below or above, right? So but mine I measured 28 inches, so I'll just form a straight line there, and on that my 28 inches line I'm going to impute how wide I want the down part to be. So in some cases, some people tend to add slits by the side instead of the pleat. So when you're adding slits by the side, you don't need to add allowance on your back piece. So on this line, I marked 15 inches, and I took that 15 inches straight down. So you divide your hip by 4. My hip divided by 4 is 11 inches, and I added 4 inches. And you can as well add 5, depends on your choice, depends on how wide you want the down part to be. Like I said, some people can add slits at the two sides instead of adding pleats at the back, and some people do add overlap pleats at the back. So it depends on your choice. All right, so I'll just form a straight line at that side. So now we form a T boubou. You can also use your own to be like this. It will be okay, it will be easier for the embroiderer, but I did my a cowl form shape, but he thought I was going to do it like this, so that when he's adding the embroidery to the sleeve, it won't be hard. But I wasn't aware, so I cut the border line, then I'll just cut off this side. So this excess I'm going to cut out the down part, I'm going to add it to complete the sleeve. It's Ankara fabric, it's not long, but if you want your sleeve to be at maybe 20, you measured from your middle back to your sleeve length, you want your sleeve length to be 20 to be 22. So now I've cut off this excess that we had because of that allowance, my pleat allowance. So I'm going to cut it off so that each side can be equal. Even if you're using a T boubou, not the cowl one, you still cut here off because you need the sleeve side to be equal. So I'll just cut the excess off, right? So as I was saying, if you want your sleeve length to be 20, 19 is okay. You can use this one. You don't be need for any addition. But I wanted mine to be a little bit longer. I know Ankara fabric doesn't come with a long length, so I'll just add this excess that I cut out at the down part. I'll add it to complete the sleeve. So I took 2 parts because 2 pieces will be equal, will be longer than the other 2 pieces, because the back and side and the front they are not equal on the body. So I placed my pieces on it, I measured, and this wider one was too long, so I'll be trying on this one that is a little bit shorter, right? I'll place it on it and I'll measure so I can know the length I want, my desired length. So after measuring, this was what I had. This will give me 28, right? So it's give me about 27 thereabouts for my sleeve length. So I place it carefully and then I measure. So I was aiming to get like 26, 25 inches. That's what I was aiming to get for my sleeve length. Your sleeve length is from your middle back, please, not from your from the end of your shoulder. It's from your middle back you measure your sleeve length whenever you're making any boubou. And in case you don't have your middle back shoulder, your normal sleeve length that you normally use for your sleeves, right? You are going to add your shoulder divide by 2 to it, and you work with it. That's it. So I was okay with the pieces that were not as wide as the other one, so I'll just cut off the excess. So we have 4 pieces here, right? And I'll be adding those 4 pieces to the sleeve opening to increase the sleeve length. So that's what I'll just go and do. I'll just place it here, cut off the excess, go to my sewing machine, stitch them together, right face facing right face, using 0.5 inch for each, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'll just say checking the measurement that I had to be sure. And then after stitching, I'll just cut off the excess. So this was me after stitching. I stitched and I folded it back and I brought it back to this position, right? So that's what I did. I'm just showing you guys. I'll just cut off this down part that is excess. So that's what I'm going to do. And after I'm done cutting, I'll now use my chalk, use my freehand to form my cowl effect. Just use your freehand to form your cowl effect. There is no need for French curve or anything. Use your freehand to form your cowl effect. So that's what I'm just going to do over here, right? So for this particular style, you can actually leave it open. Mine was open. You can also close it, but because of the style, the embroidery around the sleeve, you can't close it. It needs to be open. But I don't know if you want it closed, maybe you can actually close, but it will be fine and open, right? So I formed the cowl effect, and then I'll just cut those parts up. And please, after you're done cutting this part, right, try to take it over to your sewing machine and then restitch the down part. You know that after cutting now, you like cut the stitches, so they are going to be opening up. They will be opening up if you're not careful. So you can go back to your sewing machine and stitch. So this is what I have. If you're adding a zipper, you remove your zipper bulging, you understand, but I'm not adding a zipper to mine. I went ahead, I cut out lining for each piece. Sorry I didn't iron my lining, but please make sure you iron your lining. There was no light when I was making this dress, and I had to take that dress to his place, to my embroiderer's place, that same day. That's why I was in a rush, so I didn't iron my lining. But please iron your lining, please. So I'm just going to stitch my lining to all the pieces, right face facing right face. You stitch the upper part and the down part. I'm not turning the length with my lining for this particular one, but it's possible to do. I'll be making another one. I'll post a video about that one another day. So I've stitched the two sides and the upper part to my ankara. I did that for the back piece also, but for the back piece you split it open. You know, the back, you are splitting it open, so you're doing it in 2 pieces for the back. So I did same thing here. So I'm going to join the back pieces together. So just join it. After stitching your lining to it, turn it over, give it a good iron press. Also iron your lining, iron after stitching your lining, and then I'll just stitch the pleats allowance. After I was done doing that, and I stitch the front and back together, I stitch the upper part, and that's it. Give it a good iron press. I didn't cut out any neckline. You're not meant to cut out any neckline because you're not the one putting the embroidery, right? So if you want to have a zipper at the back, please tell your embroiderer before he's going to create the design, so you will know the measurement to use. So this was me at his shop. He was already done here, and then he went ahead to fix it. The one that will do all the fixing for you. All right, so when I went back home, I'm going to stitch the body together, stitch my pleats to it. I'll show you that. This was where he was stitching the embroidery to the fabric. So when I go back home, I cut out the piece for my pleats. I stitch it to my fabric. I used 22 inches wide. So I'm going to drop a link in the description box that will take you to how I do create my pleats on skirts and on gown. It's very easy, you understand. So I'll just stitch straight after ironing. And now let's stitch the body. So what I did here is I measured 2.5 inches upward like this. Then I'm going to start stitching from that 2.5 down. I'll be using 1 inch for the down part. You just stick it down. So I did that for both sides, right? But one mistake I made was that I stitched in between the embroidery at that 2.5 inch. We are going to come back to that. Then I give my seam a good iron press. You'll be needing to press it. Give it a good iron press. Open it up and press it. And then you'll be creating, there will be 2 angles by the side. So you notch those 2 angles, right? So that's what you're going to do. When I was ironing, that was when I realized I was not supposed to do that. So you stitch where your embroidery start from on your fabric. That's where you're starting at your 2.5, not in between like I did. So you stitch in that direction so that you can cover up a little bit. You can cover up your embroidery part, right? So that's what I did. Have you guys understand that part? Just make sure the embroidery is not showing at the where you're stitching, that your 2.5 is not popping out. So I went ahead and just gave it a good iron press. It needs to be iron, especially those angles that you notch. You need to give it a very good iron press so that it can pop out very neat. So I was done here, right? So now we'll just impute our body measurement. For my shoulder, I'm going to measure 10 inches. That's my bust line, and also you can leave it as your sleeve opening. Now go down to 18 inches. It's going to serve as my waistline, right? I'm going to do same thing for the other side too. So you're doing it for left and right. Shoulder to 10 inches, 10 inches to 18 inches. That's what I marked in my own case. Yours might be different. So from the middle point of my this my front piece, I'm going to impute my shoulder, not shoulder, Fatima, my bust divide by 4. This is what I had 9.5, and I'm going to add 3 inches. So I added 3 inches, right, and I stitch it, but later on at the end I used 2 because it was too loose. But if you're using a zip, you can just add 1 inch for ease, your bust divide by 4, then add 1 or 0.5. So I did same thing for the waistline also. My waist divide by 4, 0.5, and I added 3 inches. So I marked that. I'll now use a slant line to join those 2 points together slightly. You can use a biro in this case. And when you're using a chalk, you don't want it to be evident, you understand? So I'll join that. Then from my waist, I'll just take a slant line down to the end of the... You just use your tape to take it to the other side, you understand? From a slant line, your tape. But in case you want your hip there, I'll also talk about that very soon. So I'll do the same thing for the other side also, so that by the time you're done, when you measure, you have your bust divide by 2, you have your waist divide by 2, and then it's back and front. So basically you have your whole bust circumference and your waist circumference. Very easy. That's how you mark on boubous. Cow boubou, T boubou, that one they call Abuja boubou. That's how you mark your measurement on it. So I just went ahead and I did same thing, right? On the bust, I imputed my 13. On the waist, I imputed 11. And then I used a slant line to join the 2 points. And then from the waist, I took a slant line down. So in case you want it fitted, you're using a zip, and then you want your hip to pop, you also measure your hip line. That's maybe 24. In my own case, so when you measure 24, so you do same thing what you did for the bust and waist, and bust and waist, you understand? From the middle, you measure your hip divide by 4. If you want to add ease, if you're using zip, you can add 0.5, you can add 1. So that's what you do. And I think for hip, you should add about 2 if you're using a zip, or you add 1.5 so that you can easily pass through your hip, you understand? So that's if you want it fitted, and if you're using a zip. Like I said, mine at the end, I reduced this allowance. I used 2 instead of 3. So I stitched those lines, and then I opened up my pleats. In my video of pleats, I didn't show the press of losing. You use a loose stitch, right? So you are going to open it up and give it a good iron press, and your pleats are good to go. You can actually do this before before stitching the body, before imputing down your body measurement. It will be easier. So you open up your pleats before doing that. So I was done here. This is my dress on my mannequin. I stoned it myself, but you can also tell your embroiderer to stone it. When you tell them, they will do a very better job than yourself, maybe, I don't know, but because of time, and they'll take their time, they can use plenty of stones. But me, I just have to do the way I can. And then this was a stitch I passed, you can see, right? And this is how it was given. You see the pleats now. This is how the pleat looks like, and this is it on me, guys. So thank you all for watching. If this video has been helpful in one way or the other, guys, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and guys, thank you once again to all my new subscribers and my viewers. Bye.